This book had me wanting to smell salt. Like, how would you guys organize the bookshelf? We DNF'd it at about 84%. I remember being in the hospital, getting induced, and reading Great Expectations. I am a sporadic reader. I am just now realizing. Hey everyone, my name's Shelbina. Welcome to my YouTube channel and my very first YouTube video. Please be nice. And I will try not to be too awkward on my end. For this video, I figure I really need to organize my bookshelf. I don't have a lot of books. I am not a fast reader. My days are booked and busy, and so I don't have a ton of free time, but I do try to make my way through books, and I do love them. So I want to organize them and give them some love because it is an absolute mess. Nothing makes sense on my bookshelf, and you'll see that shortly. But first, I need some coffee. This section I will probably leave as is, except I might add more fantasy here. Zodiac Academy used to be here. I did donate them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody. That was a very fun time, but just not for me at the end. And so I do have limited space, so I didn't want to have those books on the shelf if I didn't absolutely love them. So far, the rule for my bookshelf is 4 and 5 stars. I may bend it to be 3.75 books and up. I just really don't have a lot of space in my home. And so for now, this is what I'm working with. And so I just want to look at my bookshelf and see books that I absolutely loved and would recommend to anybody. So all that to say, we do have our section for Onyx Storm. This is the book that really kicked things off for me. Yes, I'm part of that bandwagon or that crowd. I don't know. It's a great crowd to be a part of. We are fun. Love this series. That's staying there in its own like dedicated section. I'm gonna figure out a different situation because my arm is gonna fall off soon. I need a tripod so bad. Be right back. Okay, and this shelf, aside from these messy stack of bookmarkers, is my beloved Throne of Glass series bookshelf. This series, I guess this is gonna be the thing that either we have similar reading interests or we don't, but this series is God tier for me. It is 6 stars. It is in my blood and bones. I think about it all of the time. I've never read anything and loved it as much as I've loved the Throne of Glass series. It gets its own dedicated space because something like that should be honored and recognized. And beside it is the beautiful map that my best friend who did a buddy read with me and also feels very strongly about this series got for me. We actually got each other this but didn't know it until we unwrapped it at the same time, so it was hilarious. So that's gonna be there. From this point on, my bookshelf makes absolutely no sense. This is mainly where the chaos is, so just bear with me. I have the Trial of the Sun Queen. I really enjoyed this book. I think I might have given it 4 stars or 5. I had a lot of fun with this book. If it's not immediately screaming a 5-star, then I want to go with like it was in the high 4s. But it's incomplete series for me. I am on the 3rd book and I think there's only 4, so I really should just finish it. But I am also guilty of being a mood reader, so we'll get there eventually. And then of course, I'm sure everyone in the romantasy community, I guess, knows about this book. It's getting a lot of hype right now. I have not read this. This is gonna go on the TBR pile. I should probably start. I'm just gonna put it right here. But I've heard such good things about it and I'm really excited. The Season of Storms. I loved The Witcher video game and I loved season 1 of The Witcher. I've read, I think I'm on the 3rd book of this series, so also unfinished series. I enjoy fantasy like this and it is crazy that this is a translation. Yeah, translated by David French, but I believe the original writing is in Polish. I could be wrong, let me know in the comments. But fantastic translation and fantastic story. I do want to continue it, but I won't be watching the show. Sorry. And then we have Phantasma. This was a 5-star read for me. I didn't see the twist coming and I loved it. It's a fantastic seasonal read. I read it last year around this time in October, so highly recommend. I know Enchantra is out, so that is on my digital, virtual, whatever, TBR, and I do need to get to that. This one is for sure a hard 5-star read. I think about the ending to this book, and very specifically, not like the plot twist, which is crazy, but the immediate aftermath of the plot twist lives in my head, and I'm just like, I need the second book. There's bonus content in book 2, and that is what I think about. I just need the rest. I need to know what happens. So this was definitely a 5-star. It was very, very fun to read. Highly recommend that. You guys. So this was my very first V.E. Schwab, my first sapphic book, and I loved this. I did a hybrid read with the Audible, which is perfection. Highly recommend the Audible for this, or Spotify, wherever you listen to your audiobooks, because the cast, the narrators, beautiful, brilliant, so immersive, so atmospheric. Oh, another one that just, you read it and it stays with you. It's so good. So this has me very intrigued about V.E. Schwab. I definitely want to read more of her. That brings me to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I've heard really fantastic things about this, and I think V.E. Schwab did an interview where she said she took some sentiments from this book into this book, which I loved this book, so I'm even more intrigued to get into this story as well. Next we have Anathema. Loved Nocticadia. So this is on my TBR and on my ideal fall TBR as a seasonal read. So maybe I should put those together. So that'll start that pile. Oh my gosh. One Dark Window. This was the last book that I read and I loved it so, so much. This book had me wanting to smell salt, you know, and be shrouded in mist. Like I felt like I was there, and I loved that feeling. I love when books really do transport you to a different world, and this was executed so beautifully. Loved the writing, loved the story, and I am very intrigued for book 2, which I did just go to Barnes and Nobles to pick up. Two Twisted Crowns. I have it. Also would be appropriate to read during this season, so I'll put it with Anathema. I am not a type A person. I'm not obviously an organized person, though I aspire to be. I'd say I'm more type C. How do you guys handle sequels that are on your TBR? Like, how would you guys organize the bookshelf is basically what I'm asking, because I like to see series together that makes sense, but one is read and one is not read. Do you guys put it on different shelves? I know most people have a cart and maybe that's the direction I need to go, but for now, it just kind of irks my brain to see books that belong together in different areas on the bookshelf. So I don't know how I'm going to handle that yet. I think it does make sense, and it would be nice to see all of my seasonal TBR reads together. So I think I am gonna go that route. And eventually they will be together because it's just a duology and I am gonna read it. So yeah, maybe I'm just overanalyzing it for no reason, which is typical of me. Okay, moving on. I also picked up The Pretender. I've never read anything from this author. It's a historical fiction. What grabbed me about this book is that I was wanting a palate cleanser, but not a romance. I'm not a romance girly. I wish that I was. And maybe I just haven't picked up the right romance series yet or books. I just need a different genre. I don't know. Maybe it's because I read romantasy, and so I'm already getting that romance aspect that when I read just a romance book, it doesn't really feel like a palate cleanser. I'm interested in historical fiction, but I have to be careful because sometimes historical fiction can put me into a slump. So it has to be a certain type. I don't know. I'm still trying to find my taste in books. This grabbed my attention because commentary on it was a funny historical fiction, slightly absurd, which sounded right up my alley. The Poisoner. I've never read anything by this author before. It's giving the fall TBR vibes, so I definitely want to get to it before we move into winter. So I'm building quite a good list. Next we have Night Road by Kristen Hanna. I have not read this book yet. I don't even know if this book counts as historical fiction. I know she writes to particular time periods, and I only know that because of what I've heard about the women, and Firefly Lane kind of took you through the 70s, 80s up to 90s. I didn't finish that book. I softy enough'd it. I did really like it. It just was kind of good book, wrong time. Because unfortunately I am a mood reader, and so I did put it down. Not because I wasn't into it or I didn't like the writing. I love the writing. I thought the writing was so gorgeous. So I do want to return to this at some point. The Conditions of Will, I do want to read, and I love the printing of the book, the rough edges. It just looks gorgeous. So, and I love all the covers of Magnolia Park's books, the UK editions. I don't know why they did America like the way that they did. Oh, yeah. This book, I got this book because it's nostalgic for me. I read it in the 9th grade. I remember actually really enjoying it when Barnes & Nobles came out with their exclusive edition of it, which is gorgeous. It's got the clock. So I was like, yeah, I really do want to read this as an adult. Reading this as an adult? Different experience. I got halfway through. I did pick it up when I was a week from my due date with my second baby, and I remember being in the hospital getting induced and reading Great Expectations. And I don't know if it was just like what I was doing at the time, but I didn't pick this back up after I had baby. I think in my head I romanticized certain parts of this book as a teenager, and now as an adult, I'm like, what? No. So all that to say, I would like to finish the second half. So this is a softy enough, even though, does it count? I have read it, but I just like the experience of reading it again as an adult who has experienced life and has children as well. Okay, Once Upon a Broken Heart. I had so much fun reading this book. I just never saw the twists that came with this book, and it makes no sense why I didn't then finish the series, because I am a sporadic reader. I am just now realizing. But I do have the full series, so whichever one is the second one, I am maybe 20% in, and then I put it down. You know what happened was I picked up the second book when I was in my first trimester, coming out of my first trimester, and I was nauseous. And I don't know if any of you guys experience book slumps during pregnancy, but wow, I couldn't read for the life of me. I am a Sally Rooney fan. I have read all of the books except for Normal People, but I've read all of her other books and loved them. This is no exception. Intermezzo is definitely worthy of staying on the bookshelf. Holiday romance. Here's what I'll say about romance books. They are fantastic holiday reads. I loved the holiday romance because it wasn't too cheesy. I mean, of course it was predictable, but I love a funny FMC. I just eat it up. She was making me cackle. Before the Coffee Gets Cold was heartwarming, interesting concept, but it went differently than I thought it would, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. Last shelf. We're making some progress here. The Night and Its Moon by Piper C.J. I haven't heard anything about this book. I haven't read it, but I'm a sucker for a good cover. I think maybe this would be a good winter read. Winter and fantasy just go together so well. I don't know if I'm gonna get to this next book in fall. That would be ambitious. Dracula, a classic. I do love Dracula. And because I love Dracula, I thought I owe it to myself to read it. There is a part of me that's intimidated to read this because I just came out of an almost 2-month book slump, which I will get to shortly. And I'm scared that reading a classic is going to put me into one. And it's the perfect time of year, my most favorite time of year to read. And so I'm scared of putting myself in that situation, especially since I just got out of it. The Wheel of Time. And I know, guys, I know this is a massive series, but I loved the show so much that I think this is gonna be a great time and well worth the read and the investment. Ooh. Assistant to the Villain. This was such a fun read. I read it during Christmas last year. It was just refreshing. This is a good palate cleanser if you were reading anything like a serious, heavy, dark fantasy. This is a lot of fun. So I naturally picked up the sequel, which I haven't read, but perfect timing because it can go on my winter TBR. The Atlas 6 I picked up as one of the first books that I got when I was shopping at Barnes & Noble's like last year, and I was like trying to get into reading again, and this seemed intriguing, but now I don't know because I haven't heard anyone talking about it. Not that I need people to talk about books in order for me to read them, but in fact I love discovering a book. But the thing is, I've seen this on people's bookshelves, but they just don't talk about it. So I don't know, but I'm gonna find out for myself. Spark of the Everflame. I have heard very good things about this book. Little concerned about the commentary about the FMC. I've heard it gets better. This, along with Heartless Hunter, I am excited to read. Ooh, this might be a winter one too. Oh, but this one, they both could be winter ones. That's a lot. That's a lot. You guys, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Look how chunky. This is a brick, guys. I've heard mixed reviews, but I am excited for this one personally. Dune. Let's talk about it. I'm one of those people that watched the movie and then was like, oh, this is amazing. This is incredible. I need to read the book. And then I started reading the book and I was like, I need to annotate this because the lore and the wisdom that is in this book grips me and speaks to me. And so I have started this, but my personal life at the time that I was reading this book got really chaotic. And so I did put it down because I just couldn't give it the attention that I know that I needed, but I do want to return to this. This is going to be a mood read for maybe January. I don't know why, but I feel like reading Dune at the beginning of the year is a good move. Ooh, okay. So my current read, because as I mentioned, I just came out of an almost 2-month book slump. And you know what? Let's just talk about that while we're here, because I am looking at the book that is kind of responsible for that slump. And I don't mean it gave me a book hangover that I just didn't find anything to recover from. I just mean it literally put me in a book slump because it was just going down a road that I didn't know I cared to be on. And maybe Guys, maybe I'm really critical. I don't know, but you tell me. I'm going to tell you the book. And this, I will say, I loved the first half of this book. I thought it was going to be a 5-star read. I've never read anything like this before. Again, I'm new to a lot of genres. A lot of people love this book. It's fairy tale. I loved it so much at the beginning that I thought that I was going to start annotating it. Guys, see, I thought it was going to go in that direction. And I even got to 80%. It's a big book. It's a standalone fantasy, which is why I picked it up. The synopsis, the plot really intrigued me. And I was in for something dark and moody, and I wanted something that felt like it was a different world. And this definitely did that. So I loved it for that. And I was excited. But at a certain point, I just fell off because the way things started coming together felt like it was sort of handed to me, and I like piecing things together. And yes, there is an element of that in this book, but it's like once you get 2 or 3 pieces, all of a sudden it's like in a bow, and it's like, here's the rest of it. And let me know if I'm wrong, because like I said, I DNF'd it at about 84%. So if you have read Fairy Tale and you feel very, very strongly about the last 80% of the book, and you think I need to just hang in there and push through and read because it is so rewarding, I really would love to know. I don't want to miss out on a good book. And maybe this will completely change my opinion of the book, which is why I'm like, I should finish it. I should finish it. But every time I sit down to read it, I'm just like, this is not for me. This is not for me. This is not for me anymore. And I would so much rather be reading something else. And I don't like that feeling. And it's such a long book that 84% is still 300 pages or so. I'm not a fast reader, so that takes me time. And I don't have ample downtime, so that's an investment for me. All that to say, the disappointment that I felt after feeling 5 stars going down to 1, maybe 2 stars really just took me out of it, and I just didn't want to touch a book. Didn't feel like reading for quite some time, but the only thing that got me past that was One Dark Window. I love that book. I love that book. Anyways, please let me know in the comments if you've read Fairy Tale, if you know people who have read Fairy Tale and they loved it. If you have any insights on the last half of the book, please let me know if I'm making a terrible mistake. That being said, after One Dark Window, I do buddy reads with my best friend. Her name's Sarah. We just kind of needed a really fun 5-star series to really lose ourselves in again. And it's been a while since we've experienced that. ZA was close. I'll say that. ZA. I don't hate ZA. It just disappointed me. So we decided that it was time that we start ACOTAR, which is here. I have the ACOTAR Night Court edition. This is probably Sarah J. Maas's most famous series. I don't know. I only say that because I've heard so much more about ACOTAR series more than I did Throne of Glass. I don't know if this will be Throne of Glass level, but I know that I am having a really good time reading ACOTAR so far. I am 60% in. A lot of people were saying that the first book is so slow and you just gotta get past the first book. Guys, I thought that this was fast paced, and maybe it's because I am coming from TOG, where when you tell people about the TOG series, you're like, you gotta make it past the 3rd book, and then it just changes your life. So the fact that this book is just moving along, like I'm just shocked by that. I will say, I love the humor that she's injected into this book. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? If you guys have read both ACOTAR series and TOG, which is your favorite? And did you find the first book to be slow, or did you think it was quite fast-paced as well? Okay, so now, where do we put the books? I think it makes sense to do our TBR on one shelf, moving with the seasons, and then the rest of the book series together that I have read. It's gonna be a little messy, but it's fine. I think, yeah, now I have a strategy. So thanks for working it out with me. Oh, real quick, how could I forget? I recently picked up Alchemized. This book needs a pause right after you talk about it. and I haven't even read it. I haven't read, what the heck is it called? Manacled. I didn't even read Manacled, but I know so much about it. Should you read Manacled first before Alchemized? What do you guys think? If you've read both, which direction should I go? And I know that this is its own world, and I'm sure things have changed, but still, is it worth it to read Manacled first before reading this, or should this truly be treated like a standalone? And then, because I loved One Dark Window, I loved the writing, I did pick up The Night and the Moth. Also, hello, a moment for this cover. I almost picked it up just for the cover before I knew anything about this author, anything about the book. Stunning. Also would be great for a autumnal read, so I know exactly where this one's going. Okay guys, we did it. I have to admit, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet with Fairy Tale, so I just set her aside for now. Have you guys ever DNF'd at the 80% mark or more? Is that a crazy thing to do? So let me show you what I did. Ugh. Y'all, I just realized I still have this gap here that I can utilize, so I'm gonna do that. I think this shelf is meant to be for books that I absolutely love, so I think I'm gonna move ACOTAR up here, and then I can keep all my unread TBR books on one shelf. I think I'll do that. Okay, hold please. Okay, I'm back. This looks much better. I just moved ACOTAR here, and it gave me room to showcase Bare Bones and Midnight Soil, so I can use it as a marker still between the books that are on my TBR and the books that I have read. Plus that book cover is one of my favorite book covers, so I'm happy I get to display it. That is all for this video. Thank you so much if you stayed for this whole time. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or the books that are on my TBR, especially what you thought of Fairy Tale if you read it. And thanks for watching.